Our next essential question asks, how do I simplify numerical and algebraic expressions? Take a look at workbook page 166. First, we're going to talk about simplifying numerical expressions. Simplifying means basically solve, break it down. And a numerical expression includes only numbers. That's why we call it a numerical expression, because it only has numbers in it. In order to simplify a numerical expression, you have to follow the order of operations. You probably have heard of the order of operations before. Some of you may remember, but please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Here are some of the steps for the order of operations. The first thing you have to do is you have to perform all operations inside parentheses. That has to come first. Then, multiplication and division is going to come after that. You have to go from left to right. A lot of people think you multiply before you divide, and that's not always the case. If you have both multiplication and division in your problem, you have to do whichever comes first from left and then go towards the right, just like if you were reading. The same thing goes for the third step, where you have to add and subtract. Again, addition doesn't necessarily come before subtraction. You have to do whatever comes first from left to right. Take a look at number 6. We're going to do this one together. Simplify the expression by following the order of operations. Let's see. First, I have to perform all operations inside the parentheses. And here you can see that I have 2 plus 9 in my parentheses. So if I do that first, 2 plus 9 is 11. And now I'm going to bring everything down with me. Remember, just do one thing at a time. Don't try to do a bunch of stuff all at once, because very often you'll miss a step or you'll forget something and it will throw everything off. So I have completed step 1. Now I'm going to multiply and divide from left to right. Well, it looks like I only have multiplication. I've got 11 times 3 over here. That's going to give me 33. So I do a little bit at a time, bring it down. Step 2 is complete. Then we have step 3, where we have to add and subtract. Well, all we have is subtraction. 36 minus 33. The answer is 3. Third step complete. You can do 7 and 8 on your own. Next, we're going to talk about algebraic expressions. So remember, a numerical expression had just numbers. An algebraic expression is an expression that includes one or more variables. So if there's a variable in there, if there's a letter in there, it's going to be considered an algebraic expression. An algebraic expression summarizes a calculation in a concise way. For example, n plus 3 in parentheses times 5 is a short way of saying add 3 to a number and then multiply the result by 5. To evaluate an algebraic expression means to substitute given values for the variables and then simplify by following the order of operations. Evaluate is just a fancy word for solve. And when you're solving an algebraic expression, when you're evaluating it, the first thing you have to do is what we call the substitution step. You know, when there's a substitute teacher, that substitute comes in and takes the place of your regular teacher. Well, the same thing happens when you're evaluating an algebraic expression. You have to figure out what your variables are equal to, and usually that's given to you, and then you put that number in for the variable, and then you simplify it using the order of operations. So take a look at this example here. Evaluate x times the difference of 5 and a number, and it says x is 8 and y equals 3. We will always give you the variables. If we're asking you to evaluate an algebraic expression, we're going to say, okay, this is what the variables are equal to. You won't have to figure out what they're equal to. That'll be given to you for right now. Maybe later on we'll start having you solve for the variable. So here's our expression. Next, we're going to do what we call the substitution step. Anytime I see an x, I'm going to put an 8 in its place. Anytime I see a y, I'm going to put a 3 in its place. So that's substituting the 8 for the x and the 3 for the y. So now it looks like this. All I did was rewrite the expression, but instead of x I put 8, instead of y I put 3. Then we're going to perform the operations inside the parentheses according to the order of operations. I have to do 5 minus 3, which gives me 2. And then I can multiply after that. 8 times 2 gives me 16. So it's just like following the order of operations like you did above, but you first have to substitute values in for your variables. Let's do a few more practice problems together. Evaluate each expression for a equals 3 and b equals 6. So let's look at number 9. Number 9, we have 24 minus 15 divided by a. That's the original expression. But now I'm going to do the substitution step. I'm going to take my a and I'm going to put 3 in its place. So now it's 24 minus 15 divided by 3. And now I'm ready to solve because the substitution step is done. I have to follow the order of operations. Are there any parentheses? Nope. Any multiplications or divisions? Yes, there are. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Bring everything else down. I just did one thing at a time, bring everything down. And now all that's left is subtraction. I just have to do 24 minus 5, which gives me 19. Let's take a look at number 11. We have 10 times, try to make my multiplication sign there, b plus a in parentheses. So first I'm going to do the substitution step. It's going to be 10 times, and instead of b, I'm going to put 6 in its place. Instead of a, I'm going to put 3 in its place. So there's the new expression, but now I have numbers substituted in for the variables. And time to solve. Let's see. Parentheses? Yep. 6 plus 3 is 9. Then I have my multiplication left. 10 times 9 is 90. Alright, let's do one more together. Number 13. We have 2 times a plus 4 times b. Alright, substitution step comes first. 2 times 3 plus 4 times 6. So all I did was take those numbers and put them in for the variables, and now I'm ready to solve. Any parentheses? Nope. Any multiplications or divisions? Yep. I've got 2 times 3, which is 6. Remember, I do one thing at a time, bring it down. I've also got 4 times 6, which is 24. And all that's left is addition. 6 plus 24 is 30. So here are your takeaways. First, you need to know the difference between a numerical expression and an algebraic expression. Remember, a numerical expression is an expression that does not include variables. It's only going to be the numbers. And an algebraic expression is one that does include variables. It may just be one variable, it may be more than one variable. And you can see the examples there. Also remember the order of operations. You probably learned PEMDAS, or but please excuse me, dear Aunt Sally. And one thing you'll notice is our PEMDAS, our order of operations, I added something here that we didn't really have in any of these problems, and that is exponents. Exponents typically comes after parentheses, and we're going to be getting into exponents in our very next lesson. So in this lesson, all we're really worrying about is performing the operations inside parentheses, multiplying and dividing from left to right, and then adding and subtracting from left to right. We'll get into exponents later. And last, remember, evaluate is just a simple word for solve it. But in order to evaluate an algebraic expression, you must substitute values for the variables, and then you can simplify. So you have to do that substitution step. You have to show how instead of having b plus a, you put 3 plus 4 instead.